Before we get started with this rambling review, full disclosure, I did receive this free and early copy of Beasts of Reincarnation from Game Freak and Fictions themselves, so please take my opinion of this game with a grain of salt. And with all that being said and out of the way, so Beasts of Reincarnation, Game Freak's new mixed action RPG. I've been playing the game for the past week. I've beaten it. It took me a little over 30 hours, and overall, it's a 7 out of 10 good game in my opinion. I would say it's borderline 7 out of 10. Like on any given day, I could be like, oh, it's a 6.5 or a 7, but it's in that range. I'm leaning more towards 7 because the gameplay is so damn amazing and the soundtrack is great as well. But there's a lot of glaring issues with Beasts of Reincarnation. I'd put this game in the same AA to AAA quality as a Pragmata from this year or even Vanquish from by Platinum Games years prior. Also, this game really wears its inspirations on its shoulders like white on rice. You know how people are like, this game is a mix of these two other games with a sprinkle of this third game on top of it? I usually take those type of takes with a grain of salt, but I can confidently say after putting in over 30 hours into Beasts of Reincarnation, that's basically this game in a nutshell, literally. With the big three being Stellar Blade, Sekiro, and Final Fantasy VII Remake / Rebirth. Sekiro and FF7RR for the gameplay, and for better and for worse, Stellar Blade for the everything else. You'll understand once we get there, even though I do like the game. I like Stellar Blade. It's one of the best 7 out of 10 games I've played. Personally though, I really don't like to play the comparison game too much. I like to just give myself to the game I'm playing and what it's trying to do, but it's just a lot in this game. But the thing is, I don't say any of these things as a bad thing either. Well, minus the Stellar Blade comparisons for the most part, but like I said, we'll get to that. They're mostly compliments. They did a lot of this very well for the most part, and even though this game is Game Freak's, like I said, first time making a game like this, hats off to them for nailing the gameplay, the music, a lot of the boss fights. So I totally forgot to do my intro and introduce myself. My bad. What is up, everybody? My name is Malcolm, also known as Baytuh, and in this rambling review for Beasts of Reincarnation, I'm going to be giving you all of my thoughts and feelings on the game's gameplay / combat systems, broad strokes on the story and characters, because this game is surprisingly story and lore heavy, so I don't want to spoil anything, even though I do got a lot of issues with the story and characters and some of the explorations, some stuff like that. So yeah, before we get started with this review, you guys can please leave a like, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky as well at Baytuh, Baytuh. If you want to keep supporting me even further, you can do so by donating to my Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Links, leave a tip, or becoming a YouTube member on my channel. All those links are in the description down below, and there's a pinned comment in the comment section down below as well. And with all that being said and out of the way, let's talk about my least favorite part about Beasts of Reincarnation. It shouldn't take too long, but who knows, I like to ramble. The story and characters. Let's get it.
Well, let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong.
The characters in Beasts of Reincarnation for the first, I would say 50 or so % of the game are very boring and bland. Emma is a very one-note, one-dimensional, it's my duty to do what I am told to save humanity type of character, which is funny because, like I said, this game is inspired by 3 others in big ways. Emma's personality is very E-coded from Stellar Blade, so much so that I remember when I reviewed that game years ago, I was like, Tachi and Raven clearly should have been the main protagonists in that game because they're way more interesting and better written. And for this game, you're going to meet 2 other characters that are, in my opinion, better written, have better motivations than Emma for the most part, and all around way more interesting than Emma early on. And look, I guess I could chop this up to the English dub not being all that good because I did play in the English dub. I haven't heard the Japanese version. She could still have that same monotone type of tone and voice and delivery. Now, I guess this is, you could chop this up to, this is Emma, the emotionless, expressionless, type of character. But like, why does everyone else, like the people she travel with, is like in the same type of, in this, like, have the same type of emotion, I'm like, just ham it up a bit for me. Again, the 2 other characters are going to be like 1000% way more charismatic than Emma. And I guess that's the vibe of the game. game, but I don't know. Again, very stellar blade coded, and I know a lot of people are gonna say, well, that's the point of Eve's character and whatnot. And my reply would be, homie, that don't make it good. That doesn't make for good writing and whatnot. The delivery that just didn't stick the landing and all that. But anywho, it's not all doom and gloom, at least for her. She does get a bit better and becomes more interesting in the latter parts of the game. Definitely when she starts to open up and have better rapport with the other characters, like Ku the dog. And technically, he is co-protagonist, shares the co-protagonist limelight with Emma, just like Torgal from Final Fantasy 16. He's the best character in the game. What do you want me to say? Now, do I say that because I'm biased because I love dogs and he's a very good boy? Yes, I am. And I'm not ashamed to, say it, damn it. But real talk, it's pretty cute how they do interact in the game. It's really cute to see. There's Kagura, who is her personal cook and one of the main people that ties Emma to her humanity. It helps her with her growth. Brad acts as a father figure of the group, and then there's Violet, which that's all I'm going to say about her because spoilers. Her whole entire character is just shrouded in that. So come back in the comments if you want to talk about her after the game comes out. I guess my biggest issue with the characters and story would be, I guess, the pacing and how my perception of that went about in the time of how all these things came together, because it took so damn long. Because like I said, it took me a little over 30 hours to beat, which is true though, but I admit that 15 or so hours was mainly due to me level grinding and exploring, not really getting much, nothing story related or character related. Sure, we get some inputs from like Violet telling Emma some stuff and Emma figuring basic human shit out, but that's about it really. So in reality, her development in my playthrough really didn't happen until like hour 15 plus. So the game, I guess if I just would have mainlined it with little to no exploration, it took like 11 to 12 hours, which isn't that bad. So I guess I admit that's on me with the pacing, because like I said, the levels aren't that long. You do like, in terms of the objectives, once you get to a new zone, you do like 2 to 3 objectives, get to the boss of that zone, beat the boss and bug out, and you go to the new zone. So I don't know, that still doesn't change how I feel about her and a lot of the characters for more than half of the game, like 80% of the game. It's still like it just don't hit me or anything like that until like near the end. So I don't know. The story, on the other hand, top level, boils down to your task to travel from zone to zone, slaying the big blight monsters in each zone named Nushi to clear out the blight, make it to the capital, and finally kill the beast of reincarnation. And look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it a beat. The story is pretty mid. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. If you watch my walkthrough of this game, which part 1 should be live right now on my YouTube channel, will probably like the first 20 or so minutes of the video, or if you've watched at least 3 battle shonen or some generic post-apocalyptic anime within the last 15 years, you can probably already guess how all of this is going to go. Definitely when it comes to the main villain himself. Oh my god, definitely when it comes to the main villain himself. But at least, to give them some credit, I would say the last third was like the last 4 or so hours of the game, a lot of the veil starts to come undone and some twisted revelations surprised me, and I was like, oh, I did not see this coming, and sets up a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, now this is pretty damn interesting. Still doesn't make up for the fact for how mid most of the story is, but hey, what are you gonna do? Anywho, let's move on to the thing that I truly think shines the most in Beast of Reincarnation, the gameplay, because OMG. The gameplay in Beast of Reincarnation has some of my favorite mechanics in this type of combat system in gaming. Game Freak really deserve all of the flowers for this, for how damn amazing and fun it is, with all of the added variety skills you can do, the different mods, the build crafting you could do, the skills and all that. It's so freaking good. For Emma's gameplay, you got the parrying and deflecting aspect from Sekiro. Hell, even the freaking assassination when you catch an enemy off guard, or even getting to a high up place place you do your grappling rope thing, but this time it's a giant freaking bridge. But yeah, you got the parrying and deflecting aspect from Sekiro, but way more forgiving. Even when you decide to just wail on an enemy, you can't get many hits off until you parry their moves or use one of Ku's attacks or one of your Nushi blade art special skills, which I'll get into more of that in a bit. There's also the standard enemy does an unblockable red attack, and you do your standard perfect dodge for an instant combo for extra damage. And if you do enough parrying, their yellow stagger bar will fill up for an instant kill no matter what, unless it's a boss, which if you do that to them, they'll just stagger for a short bit for you to unleash some extra damage, which is pretty cool. Emma can also have different types of katanas, like elemental ones like fire and acid, or a mix between fire and lightning at the same damn time, or one that can apply a weaken, or another one that has a chance to puppet a robot you're fighting, which is pretty cool. I didn't have a chance to use it. I have the weapon, didn't have a chance to use it because the percentage of your chance of puppeting a robot is kind of low, even at the highest tier 3 upgraded level, but that still is pretty cool. All in all, I would say Emma's normal standard attacks are pretty good, pretty satisfying. Definitely when it comes to the parrying and deflecting, god, the noise so good. It sounds so satisfying to hear once you nail a perfect parry. Definitely when you do your perfect dodge for a counter attack, really freaking cool. But when we move on to her Nushi blade art skills and some of her normal standard skills that pair well with those blade art skills, and also we can pair that with some of what Ku, his skills can do for that I guess ability skill synergy. Oh, things get so much more freaking interesting with the gameplay in this game. So I would say with all that, it ratchets up the gameplay to an 11. Shout out to her blade art Kiku skill, my favorite one, my beloved favorite one, that you get after beating, I believe, the 4th boss in the game. It unleashes multiple slashes that munches on enemies' health like it's freaking nothing, and pair that with the Helm Splitter, which they get that. Okay, so going off script a bit, the Helm Splitter is super overpowered, mainly for against enemies that aren't bosses, because it has like a double hit. Like when you do, like I probably have gameplay showing in the background right now. When you do, you double jump in the air, you rise up from the ground, you initiate the Helm Splitter, you do the initial attack, and Emma hits them with the front of the blade. Then she'll do a second spin and hits them again. That downs like 80% of the enemy's health. Like 80% of the health, it downs them. It either straight up one-shots them or downs their health by like 80%. And it also does like a knockback effect as well, which is, I'm not gonna lie, when I kept using that after I unlocked it, I'm like, this feels like I'm cheating a bit, because granted, like I said, not really too useful against bosses unless you stun them, you get them completely staggered, but oh my goodness, like this does like devastational damage. Plus another freaking thing, when you there's a Nushi skill, I think it's called a Sago, I want to say adobo, it's not adobo, I don't think it's adobo, it's kind of close to adobo, it's a Sago, which sorry, got way too excited there. Well, I was trying to say in my excitement voice, because I was like, oh yeah, this shit's really freaking cool, is that you can actually chain together your normal standard attacks into Emma's Nushi blade art skills, which is pretty fucking awesome. So a perfect example is initiate the Helm Splitter. Once you get done at the very end of Helm Splitter, you're gonna be prompt if you have enough, I forget what it's called at the bottom, that parry bar that you have at the bottom of your screen. I'm just gonna call it the parry bar. If you have that enough of those slots filled up, you could initiate more Nushi blade art skill chains. So after you could do that on its own, but you could, like I said, you could chain together normal attacks into Nushi skills. So you do the Helm Splitter attack. At the end of that, if you have enough of that bar filled up from parrying a lot, you could chain the Helm Splitter into the Asobo Nushi skill, which is pretty damn cool for even more devastational attacks of devastational damage into like something like an AoE attack, or for even more straightforward one target damage, or control damage I should say. You could do it's a move from Sekiro, it's called the, it's actual samurai move. It's called like the Ido. It's I-A-D-I-O, something along those lines. You could do that move, and if you have enough of that parry bar filled up for yourself, you could continue that and chain that into some crazy like new age skill. Like it's the attack skills and the sword moves that you could do with Emma, chain all of that together. It's pretty cool. Also, before I forget, Emma does have 2 other weapons besides her katanas that are legit goated. They're the crossbow and bow and arrow. Some advice if you're planning on playing this game: do not, and I repeat, do not sleep on the upgrading and going out of your way to collect the different elemental manuals for the bolts and the arrows, like acid or explosion. Beast of Reincarnation isn't like other games where the ranged weapons are only kinda okay for mobs. No, the ranged weapons are very, and I mean very, useful against all the enemies, including bosses. Not only does it help build up status effects, it does a great job in building up their stagger bar too, even with the normal bolts and arrows. And I finished the game on normal difficulty too, and I was doing work with a bow and arrow and the crossbow, whose gameplay is where the Final Fantasy VII Remake series ATB system comes into play, and it's very much one-to-one. Like I said, these are all compliments I'm giving the game, minus the story and character aspect. These are really compliments that Game Freak is pulling from other games and mixing and matching it and making it into their own unique spin thing in Beast of Reincarnation. In combat, you can press Q's command button to slow down time, not stop it completely. I want to make that very clear. It only slows it down. Enemies are still moving and will hit you if you are not careful. I made that mistake a few times very early on in my playthrough. Anywho, you do that and you can choose from a bunch of different skills Q can use, like, and I'm most likely going to butcher some of these names, so forgive me, Hagenbana Bloom or Higenbana or Hagenbana Bloom. I'm just gonna go with Hagenbana Bloom. I have no freaking clue. Anywho, which is an AoE destructive move that can also break shields. Hagenbana Roots that can bind enemies of all sizes for some quick for a quick bit, so Emma can do some extra hits on bosses or enemies of the like. And my personal, or I should say, my personal favorite, Sakura Javelin, which calls down a lightning strike on foes, which can chain together. Like if an enemy is next to another enemy, you call down Sakura Javelin, it will hit that one enemy that does, you know, your main target, but it also will splinter out and hit other targets next to each other, which is fucking rad. And of course, it does electric damage and can build up the shock affliction to stun enemies to get a damage over time effect. Yeah. All right. We are 8 minutes into this section of the review. I know I gotta move on to the last bits of this video, but I'd be a bit goofy not to mention the huge list of the build variety you can have in this game between Emma and Q, like poison, fire, acid, water, or lightning, or a mix of all of them shared between you and Q. And most of all, they're very helpful in fights. You can't go wrong with either of them. I guess probably water, because I think water is best against, I think like some of the human enemies you can find in the game, but you can mix and match fire, acid with water and weaken and have all of the status effects build up quicker while Q heals you. It's all very helpful. If you're like me and want to output the most devastational damage, you can kit Emma with one of the elemental swords like Fall Thunder or Camilla, slot in 4 to 5 Onslaught Spirit Stones and 1 double-edged stone for more attack power. Forgot to mention, Spirit Stones are items that could give Emma special effects like more damage, more HP, more defense, you know, yada yada yada. And put some lightning bolts and arrows on. Slot Q with a charm that changes his normal attacks to an elemental one. I went with lightning, running theme here. Equip and upgrade his bind ability, Sakura Javelin, and Hibana Seeds ability, and put some mods for even more and extra elemental damage. And watch these motherfucking enemies pray that it was 2026 instead of 4026, because you delete their asses like there's no one business. Now, let's move on to the levels and exploration. Shouldn't take too much time, but you know me, I like to ramble.
Over here!
All right, exploration and Beast of Reincarnation should take me that long to talk about because there's not much to write home about. I don't really want to knock Game Freak too much on this because, like I said, this is their first time making a game like, even though things could have been a lot better and more fun in this regard. Outside of getting the manuals for the boats and not boats, excuse me, bolts and arrows that I mentioned, memory chips that can upgrade your home base so you could keep upgrading your weapons and acquire more food and have more food storage and whatnot, and grow more food, and finding shrines that which if you find 10 of them you can get an extra healing stim pack. Outside of all of that, there's really not a good reason to spend too much time in each zone, in my personal opinion, because you don't get that you don't get too much rewarded from that, if that makes sense. Like, sure, you can find some swords in the wild, but the best ones you get from defeating some bosses or outright buying them from merchants. I can only think of one sword that you can get out of the wild, which I think it's in the 3rd zone, if I'm not mistaken. That's actually like pretty freaking good. But outside of that, majority of them are kind of mid that you find in the wild. Like, there's no fun secrets, no story related moments, no character world moments, not character world moments, no like character dialogue moments that makes you go, oh, this was fun how they interacted with this, or they saw this and they interacted with that. There's no world bosses. There's really none of that. There are like elite enemies you can find in the world in each zone, but they're just tougher mob enemies that can hit harder and have more health. That's really about it. And they don't drop much of note. Like, they'll drop some, like a charm here and there, a spirit stone here and there, that, you know, some of them can be helpful, but again, all of that is very few and far between. Now, with all that being said, I will say that the best part of the whole entire of each zone, in terms of, I don't even count this as an exploration type of thing. It's more of, you know, how can I put this? It's not really, I guess, count as exploration, but I would say the best part about each zone is the music. The music definitely, you know, I keep saying stellar blade coded, but it is, you know, very stellar blade coded, and I freaking love the music in that game. The music in each zone is so masterfully done, and also the game's, you know, beautiful to look at. Each of the scenery and whatnot, even some of the environmental storytelling, which I will give a point into the storytelling in that regard. Environmental storytelling is pretty cool. But yeah, like, here, listen to this song from the first zone in the game. It's really cool. So yeah, as the hip kids like to say, it's a vibe. All right, let's close out with my overall closing thoughts.
Hallelujah!
All in all, like I said, Beast of Reincarnation is a 7 out of 10 good game, which isn't a bad thing. You know, there's a lot of good experiences that can be have in games that are swimming in 7s, which is, you know, that's dope. Also, to me, it feels like Game Freak managed to take their shackles of Pokemon servitude off for a moment to flex and say, hey guys, we can make something pretty cool that isn't just gotta catch them all every single year. This is their Stellar Blade or Watch Dogs 1, their 1.0 of Beast of Reincarnation. Like I said, to go over the positives, amazing gameplay, lots of build variety that can suit your playstyle, an amazing soundtrack, really good boss fights, even though, you know, this could go into the negative part of this as well. Even though I wish their second phases were a bit different, because all it is that they just hit harder and have more defense, no new moves or anything of the sorts. But on the flip side, the game has a very mid story and characters in a lacking world that you would want to explore and get into. Also, the lack of enemy variety because you're fighting the same 3 robots constantly. There's a lot of repeated boss fights in the game. There's some performance issues that, you know, here and there, that's mainly for exploration. The performance kind of didn't go all that well. It was usually normally good during fights for the most part, but the biggest part entwined with that is the camera. I think for smaller enemy fights, the camera was fine, not great, but fine, serviceable enough, which in a game like this is a, you know, bit of an issue, right? But when it came to the boss fights, that's when you had to like play this tug of war, fight for your darn life, you know, with that camera, because it seemed like the camera was mainly built for smaller type enemies, and the bosses, the majority of the bosses are these very large, colossal monsters, and it seems like the camera goes a little bit too high and swings in directions that it doesn't really need to swing when you're very up close and personal with a boss, which that is an issue. But even with all that being said, I still think with how good the gameplay is and the potential of the overall game, I know there's a lot of what ifs, what could have been with what I'm saying. So, but anywho, I still think it is a great jumping on point that I hope that isn't just a one and done deal with them and Game Freak just goes back to the Pokemon dungeon for another 7 or so years. I know they've made other games beside Pokemon, but I think this is, you know, their most ambitious one and one of their better ones in my opinion. I'm not going to spoil what happens in the end, but I feel like we can get way more out of this. I hope Beast and Reincarnation does well enough for them so we can get a second game or a spin-off Beast of game, like, you know, like Stellar Blade, Blood Rain, and Black Myth, Zoo something starts with a Z, you know, some type of game, you know, second iteration of this that helps expand the world, the story, fix a lot of the issues that this first game has, because there's so much potential here that I hope it doesn't get thrown away. All right, outro time. And that just about does it for this rambling review for Beast of Reincarnation. Thank you all so much, everyone, for watching this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, whether you agree or disagree once you play the game. Let me know in the comments or tweet at me or blue sky me at Baytuh, BAYTUH. Yeah, you know, this game, you know, has a lot of potential. It's a good game. I really hope we do get more from this. I really do. Like, I think it's nice to see a studio who's just known for making the one thing, you know, Pokemon, or like if Call of Duty, one of the Call of Duty devs decides to make something else other than Call of Duty one day, which is never gonna fucking happen. But you know, it's nice to see something different out of studios like Game Freak. Anywho, next up on the channel, what I'm doing is, you know, we're continuing my Beast of Reincarnation walkthrough. Part 1 should be live by now. There's gonna be a total of 5 parts. Got some extra videos of Beast of Reincarnation after that. If I'm not mistaken, I think August 6th, this Thursday, the next part of Where Winds Meet Hidden Mountain expansion is supposed to come out. I'll be streaming that. I cannot freaking wait because I got my gauntlet build all kitted out. I'm a level 100 on my inner ways. Now I'm working on my Hung Blade Gauntlet hybrid build. I need to unlock some inner ways to make that feature complete, so that ought to be super fun this week, at the end of this week. Next week should be a clear catch-up week for me, so I'll be doing my Doom the Dark Ages Revelations walkthrough that week, because the week after the week of the 18th, towards the end of August, it's like all speeds, all freaking, you know, we're going to the end of the year, because what, the week of the 18th we have Mortal Shell 2, the Sinking City 2, Stalker 2, the Cost of Hope expansion, Neo 3 DLC. I think I'm missing another expansion that's dropping that week as well. We're also getting Resonance and Plague Tale Legacy, which I'm super excited for. And that will lead us to the first week of September, which is Onimusha Way of the Sword and the Blood of Dawnwalker. So we are going to be very, 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 very busy. So make sure you're all subscribed, have that notification bell turned on, and make sure you set those notifications to all so you don't miss out on anything I post this channel. And yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, everyone, thank you for watching this and thank you for joining me for this review. Thank you for the love and support on this review and on my other reviews and on my channel, my content on my channel, like my walkthroughs and live streams as a whole. Thank you much, appreciate it. Before I let you guys go, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky as well at Baytuh, Baytuh. If you want to keep supporting me even further, you can do so by donating to my Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Links, leave a tip, or becoming a YouTube member on my channel. All of those links are in the description down below and as a pinned comment in the comment section down below as well. And for the final time for my Beast of Reincarnation review, my name is Malcolm, also known as Baytuh, and I will catch you guys on my next walkthrough, Let's Play, channel post, update, live stream, rambling review, basically whatever else I do next on this channel, which is going to be very, very, very soon. Peace, thank you all for watching, and I love you all.